Hello, welcome back to the channel, and today we are talking about the Las Vegas Raiders and a rather ominous prediction if you are Josh McDaniels, coming in from ESPN's Dan Graziano in an article for ESPN Plus. Basically, they were talking about coaches who are on the hot seat or potentially on the hot seat. As we move forward, as we're through week 3, and there was a sense because he was doing it with Jeremy Fowler, another insider. And he sort of said it's a bit early to say who's on the hot seat right now, but you can sort of get a bit of a gist or a bit of a go with roughly who's sort of in that area. And he mentioned Josh McDaniels as one of the options. I'll give you the quote. Paraphrasing here, basically saying if they finish near the bottom of the league in terms of their record, which he thinks is a real possibility, and I thought things a possibility as well. How long will Mark Davis live with the mistake? Obviously hinting that, you know, there's obviously some form of project going on with the Las Vegas Raiders and looking for the long term. That's why they moved away from Derek Carr. How long are they willing to go on with it? And I think Dan Graziano's point about being possibly the worst team or one of the amongst the worst teams in the league does have real sums to it. Because if I look, taking the stats from Pro Football Reference, on the defensive side of the ball, the Raiders are 18th in yards allowed and 20. It's either 24th or 26th, can't be writing. I believe that's 24th in points allowed. And they are, and on the offensive side of the ball, which I think this bit is more crucial because Josh McDaniels is an offensive mind. Obviously, was offensive coordinator with the Patriots for all those years. 30th in points scored and 24th in points, 24th in yards gained rather. They are 1-2 so far in the season, with their only win being a very, very close one over the Denver Broncos. And if you've seen what the Denver Broncos are doing this season, you know that if you are beating them narrowly, that means you are roughly on level with them, and that's not a good place to be. So I think this is going to be pretty interesting to see how things goes on, because I think this really is a season for Josh McDaniels to prove whether or not he can be whether he can still be a head coach in the league. He came in with with a losing season last season for the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, go through the change with Derek Carr, bringing in someone who he should be familiar with, and Jimmy Garoppolo from the days of the New England Patriots. Again, he started to get the team in his own image, but just how much do you really want to? How much can you divulge, or how much time can you spend on that before anything really comes along? Because you've got Davante Adams sort of saying that he's disgruntled and he's basically not waiting around for the Raiders to figure their stuff out. What's the effect of Jimmy Garoppolo is already hurt, something that anybody could have seen happening given his injury record. So it's going to be interesting to see this one, because if you're using this season as right, let's see what Josh McDaniels can do as a head coach. Is there going to be some form of progress in there? If he takes them to a winning record of 9-8, then you can say, right, okay, this is going somewhere. But if you look at the numbers of what they produced so far and some of the games they've got coming up, because they are in the AFC West with the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs, who, the way things are standing, Chargers not so much, but Chiefs is automatically 2 losses. And some of the other games on their schedule as well, they're playing the NFC North. They've got the Packers and the Detroit Lions, who could very well be very difficult opponents. So they've got very tough schedules. So it's going to be hard to see how they can come out of that. So if there isn't any real progress on the Raiders front, is this going to be, do they say that they're going to call it after 2 years, or are they going to give it one more year? I think it's very crucial. If they take the step backwards, I think that might be all the evidence. They say, right, we gave you the pieces we wanted, we gave you the quarterback we wanted, we spent all this money, we brought it, Davante Adams is clearly disgruntled, you want to get the best out of, arguably one of the best wide receivers in the league. So we've got to do something. And it might just be that Josh McDaniels is just one of those coaches where he is much better as a coordinator than as a head coach. There's no shame in that. We've seen some other coaches around the league who have been promoted, but then you find out, oh no, they're just much better. They're much better being a coordinator than they are. You can make the argument Josh McDaniels is one of them after what he did with Denver and then what he did with the Patriots as an offensive coordinator. So I think it's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on this one. If the Raiders do not pick up, I'm not going to say it's going to be a mid-season firing. I don't think they'll be that desperate. But if the Las Vegas Raiders don't pick things up by the end of the season, I think there is a very, very good chance that Josh McDaniels might be moved on, and they decide to move someone who actually has the capabilities of being a head coach.